I installed security cameras after my vintage pearl necklace went missing from my bedroom. What I saw on that footage 3 days later made my blood run cold. It wasn't a burglar I caught on camera. It was my daughter Emma, standing in my study at 2 in the morning, photographing every document in my safe with her phone. The same daughter I'd raised alone, after her father died when she was 6. The same daughter whose wedding I'd paid for by liquidating half my retirement fund. The same daughter who'd moved back into my beachfront home 6 months ago, claiming she just wanted to reconnect and help after I lost my husband Robert to cancer. Let me back up. I'm Margaret, and I'm 58 years old. I worked as a nurse for 33 years before retiring 2 years ago. My husband Robert and I had built a good life in our small coastal town in Oregon. We'd scrimped and saved to buy our dream home, a modest but beautiful craftsman-style house just 3 blocks from the ocean. Robert passed away 18 months ago after a brutal fight with pancreatic cancer. The insurance payout and his life savings left me comfortable, not wealthy, but secure enough to live out my years without financial worry. Emma is my only child. She's 32 now, married to Jason, a financial advisor she met 5 years ago. They lived, about 2 hours away in Portland. Our relationship had always been complicated. I'd sacrificed so much raising her alone after her father died young, working double shifts, missing school events, going without so she could have piano lessons and summer camps and eventually, college. I thought we were close. I really did. Then Robert got sick. Emma visited maybe 3 times during his entire illness. She was too busy with work, she said. Jason had big clients that demanded their time. I understood, or at least I told myself I did. I sat by Robert's bedside alone, held his hand through the morphine haze, made all the decisions about his care by myself. Emma showed up to the funeral looking perfect in her black designer dress, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. She hugged me briefly and whispered, "I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have been here more." 3 months after Robert's funeral, Emma called. "Mom," she said, her voice soft with concern, "Jason and I are worried about you. That big house, all alone. Are you really okay?" I assured her I was fine. I joined a grief support group, reconnected with old nursing colleagues, started taking long walks on the beach. But she persisted. Over the next few weeks, the calls increased. Was I eating properly? Was I sleeping? Had I thought about what would happen if I fell? The house was too big, too much for one person to maintain. Then came the proposal. "Mom, our landlord is selling our building. We need to find a new place anyway. What if Jason and I moved in with you? Just temporarily, maybe 3 to 6 months, while we look for a house to buy. We could help you around the house, keep you company, make sure you're okay. And honestly, it would help us save money for a down payment." I hesitated. I'd grown to appreciate my solitude after Robert's death. The quiet, the freedom to eat cereal for dinner, to paint in my pajamas at midnight, to leave books scattered across every surface. But Emma sounded so earnest, and a small part of me, the lonely widow part, yearned for family nearby. "All right," I finally said, "but just until you find your own place." They moved in on a Saturday in late March. Jason arrived first with the moving truck, all smiles and energy, calling me Margaret in that overly familiar way some young men have. He was 35, handsome in a slick sort of way, with perfectly styled hair and expensive watches. Emma arrived an hour later, throwing her arms around me. "Thank you so much, Mom. This means everything to us." The first week was pleasant enough. Emma cooked dinner twice. Jason fixed a loose railing on the porch. They were polite, considerate, almost performing the role of dutiful daughter and son-in-law. But small things started to feel off almost immediately. I'd come downstairs to find Jason in my study, quickly closing his laptop when I entered. "Just checking my work email," he'd say with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Emma started asking pointed questions about my finances. How much was the house worth? What had Robert's life insurance paid out? Did I have a will? "We just want to make sure you're protected, Mom," she'd say sweetly. "Jason knows all about estate planning. You should let him help you." By the second month, the dynamic had shifted. Emma began offering to help with my bills, saying I looked tired, that she didn't want me to worry about such things. When I declined, I caught flashes of irritation in her eyes. Jason started leaving brochures around the house, retirement communities with names like Golden Shores and Sunset Haven, places where seniors could have peace of mind and professional care. "I'm 58, not 80, I told Emma, when I found a stack of them on the kitchen counter. "I don't need assisted living." "Of course not, Mom," she said quickly. "Jason was just researching options. You know, for the future. It's never too early to plan." That's when my mother's pearl necklace disappeared. It had been Robert's first gift to me, a beautiful single strand that I kept in my jewelry box. I'd worn it to his funeral. When I went to put it on for our anniversary, it was gone. I searched everywhere, convinced I'd misplaced it in my grief fog. Emma helped me look, all concerned sympathy. "Maybe you moved it and forgot, Mom." "That happens sometimes as we get older." "I'm 58. I wanted to scream, not senile. But I held my tongue. Jason suggested helpfully that perhaps I should keep valuables in the safe rather than a jewelry box. He'd noticed I had a safe in my study, he said. Had I changed the combination after Robert died? For security? I hadn't. And something about the way he asked made my nurse's instincts tingle with warning. That night I couldn't sleep. Those instincts that had served me well through decades of patient care were screaming at me now. I got up at 3 a.m. and checked my study. Everything looked normal, but when I opened the safe, I had the strangest feeling things had been moved, just slightly. Documents weren't quite in the order I remembered. The deed to the house was at a different angle. The next morning I drove to an electronics store in the next town over. I paid cash for 3 small security cameras, the kind you can monitor from your phone. I told the young clerk helping me that I was worried about break-ins in my neighborhood. He showed me how to set them up, how to access the footage, how to save recordings. I installed one in my study, aimed at the safe, one in the hallway outside my bedroom, and one in the garage. I didn't tell Emma or Jason. Something told me not to. For 3 days, nothing unusual showed up on the cameras. Emma and Jason went about their routines. I started to feel foolish, paranoid, like maybe Emma was right, and grief had added my brain. Then, on the 4th night, my phone buzzed with a motion alert at 2:17 a.m. The study camera had been triggered. I watched in real time from my bed as my daughter, my only child, entered my study in darkness, using her phone's flashlight. She went straight to the safe. She knew the combination. I watched her open it, watched her systematically photograph every document inside: the house deed, Robert's death certificate, my bank statements, my retirement account information, my will. She was methodical, efficient, holding each document flat and photographing it clearly. It took her 11 minutes. Then she closed the safe, reset the lock, and slipped out of the room like a ghost. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. This couldn't be real. There had to be an explanation. Maybe she was just trying to help organize my affairs? But at 2 a.m, in secret, my nursing training kicked in, the part of my brain that stays calm in crisis. I saved the video to my phone, backed it up to a cloud account Jason couldn't access, and forced myself to lie back down and think. Over the next 3 weeks, I became someone I'd never been before. Observant, suspicious, strategic. I watched my daughter and her husband the way I'd once watched patients for signs of deterioration, and I saw everything I'd been too trusting, too loving, to notice before. Jason made phone calls on the back deck, always stepping outside when I approached. Once, I opened the window slightly and heard fragments. "The house is worth at least $650 in this market. No mortgage, once we get the POA." He stopped talking when I slid open the door to water my plants. "Just a client," he said smoothly. "Investment strategies." Emma started a new pattern. Every morning, she'd ask about my night. Did I sleep well? Any confusion? Bad dreams? She'd mention casually that she'd found the toaster unplugged, that I'd left the stove on, that I'd asked her the same question twice. None of it was true, but she said it in front of Jason, building a narrative. Her mother was declining. Her mother needed help. Her mother couldn't be trusted to live alone. Then my friend Carol stopped by. We'd worked together for 15 years, and she'd become my closest friend after Robert died. Emma met her at the door. "Oh, Carol, I'm so glad you came. Mom's been so confused lately. Just this morning she couldn't remember what day it was. The doctor says it might be early onset dementia. We're trying to keep her calm and not overstimulated. Maybe visits aren't the best idea right now. I heard this from the kitchen and walked out. Emma, what are you talking about? I'm fine. Carol looked between us, confused. Emma touched my arm gently. Mom, you know we talked about this. The doctor's appointment? The memory tests? There had been no doctor's appointment, no memory tests. Carol made polite excuses and left, throwing me a concerned look over her shoulder. When I tried to call her later, Emma had somehow gotten to her first. Carol's voice was soft with pity. Margaret, honey, I know it's hard to accept, but Emma told me about the diagnosis. If you need help, I'm here, but maybe you should listen to your daughter about treatment options. I felt the walls closing in. My own daughter was gaslighting me, isolating me, building a case that I was incompetent. But why? The camera in my study caught Emma twice more going through my papers. Once, I watched as she brought Jason in, both of them examining documents by phone light, Jason taking notes. Another time, she was on the phone. Yes, we're definitely interested in seeing the property. Late August? That should be perfect. By then, everything will be sorted with my mother's estate. My mother's estate. I wasn't dead. I wasn't even sick. I started checking my files more carefully. Legal documents I'd never seen before appeared in my safe, then disappeared. A power of attorney form with my signature, except I'd never signed it. The signature was close, very close, but the capital M in Margaret had a flourish I never used. I photographed everything with my phone, backed it all up, and kept my mouth shut. It was June when I overheard the conversation that confirmed everything. Jason was in the guest room, door half closed, on a video call with someone. I'd come upstairs to get laundry and heard voices. I stopped in the hallway, my phone already recording audio. The nursing home has an opening in August, Jason was saying. Golden Shores up in Washington, far enough away that visitors won't be convenient. They specialize in memory care, and once she's diagnosed with dementia, even if she protests, we've got guardianship lined up. Emma's been documenting everything. Yeah, the house goes on the market September 1st. In this market, we'll clear $600,000 easy, probably more. No, she doesn't suspect anything. She trusts Emma completely. Stupid, really, after everything. I stepped away, silent in my nurse's soft-soled shoes. I went to my bedroom, closed the door, and allowed myself exactly 5 minutes to fall apart. To cry for the daughter I thought I had, for the betrayal that burned like acid in my chest. Then I dried my eyes, opened my laptop, and started making plans. First, I called a lawyer in Portland, someone Emma wouldn't know. Her name was Patricia Chen, and she specialized in elder law. I told her everything, sent her the videos, the forged POA, the audio recording. This is elder financial abuse and fraud, she said, her voice sharp with anger. We need to act fast. Within 48 hours, Patricia had invalidated the forged power of attorney, frozen my accounts so no one could access them but me, and filed for a restraining order based on financial exploitation. She also contacted an old friend, Detective Mark Rodriguez, who worked in the fraud division. But I didn't want to just report them. I wanted them to face exactly what they'd tried to do to me. Patricia and Detective Rodriguez helped me set up what they called a controlled confrontation. We would catch them in the act, with multiple witnesses, undeniable proof. I played my part for 2 more weeks. I acted vague, confused. I mentioned I couldn't remember where I'd put my checkbook. I asked Emma the same question twice about dinner plans, deliberately. I watched her and Jason exchange glances, barely concealing their satisfaction. I was becoming the incompetent old woman they needed me to be. Then I told Emma I'd decided she was right. I was struggling. Maybe I should sign that power of attorney, just to make things easier. Her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. Oh, Mom, I think that's so wise. Jason has the papers ready. We can do it this weekend. Saturday came. Jason had the papers spread on the dining room table. Patricia had already explained that the documents were sophisticated forgeries, designed to give them complete control of my finances and medical decisions. There was even a pre-signed commitment form for Golden Shores. I sat down at the table, Emma on one side, Jason on the other. Before I sign, I said, my voice steady, I want to understand exactly what I'm agreeing to. Jason went through it, his financial advisor voice smooth and confident, complete financial power of attorney, healthcare proxy, authorization to sell property. Essentially, I would sign away every right to control my own life. It's just a safety net, Margaret, he said. You'll still make all your own decisions. We just want to be able to help if you need it. I picked up the pen. Emma touched my hand, her eyes warm. Thank you for trusting us, Mom. We only want what's best for you. That's when I set down the pen. No, I said, you want what's best for you. The room went still. Jason recovered first. Margaret, don't be upset. We can go through it again if you're confused. I'm not confused, I said. I pulled out my phone, opened the video app, and pressed play. The footage filled the screen. Emma, in my study at 2 a.m., photographing my documents. Jason's voice echoed through the speaker. The nursing home has an opening in August. Emma's face drained of color. Jason lunged for my phone, but I pulled it back. That's just a copy, I said. The originals are already with my lawyer and the police. The doorbell rang. Emma jumped like she'd been shocked. I stood and answered it. Patricia Chen walked in first, followed by Detective Rodriguez and 2 uniformed officers. Emma Miller and Jason Miller, Detective Rodriguez said formally, "You're being detained for investigation of attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, fraud, and forgery." What happened next blurred together. Emma crying, pleading that she was my daughter, her blood. How could I do this? Jason trying to lawyer speak his way out, claiming misunderstanding, taken out of context. The officers reading rights. Patricia standing beside me, her hand on my shoulder, as they were let out in handcuffs. "We're not pressing charges yet," Detective Rodriguez told me later, "but we could. That forged POA alone is a felony. The conspiracy, the fraud attempt, we've got them cold. I didn't want my daughter in prison, even after everything." Patricia negotiated a settlement. Emma and Jason would pay restitution for the stress and legal fees. They'd sign an agreement admitting to the attempted exploitation. They'd be permanently barred from any inheritance or claim on my estate. And they'd stay away from me, minimum 500 feet, for at least 2 years. Jason's financial advisor license was suspended pending an ethics investigation. Word got out, as it does in small professional circles. His career was effectively over. They lost their apartment, their savings drained by legal fees and restitution. Emma called me once, from her mother-in-law's house where they'd moved temporarily. "Mom, please," she sobbed. "We made a mistake. We were desperate. Jason's gambling debts. We were going to lose everything. We thought you'd never know. We'd take care of you at Golden Shores, I swear. It was supposed to be nice." I hung up. Patricia had warned me they'd try the sympathy play. Desperation doesn't excuse betrayal. Debt doesn't justify destroying your own mother's life. I sold the house in September, just as they'd planned to do, but I sold it on my terms, to a young family with twins who fell in love with the ocean view. I bought a smaller condo 10 miles down the coast, modern and easy to maintain, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a tiny balcony where I drink my coffee and watch the sunrise. With part of the proceeds, I did something I'd never done before. I enrolled in photography classes at the community college. Turns out, I have a decent eye for landscapes. My instructor says I could sell my work if I wanted to. I've joined a hiking group, all women over 50, and we spend Saturday mornings exploring coastal trails, cameras in hand. I've made new friends, real friends. Patricia and I get dinner once a month. Carol came back, full of apologies for believing Emma's lies. "I should have known you better," she said, tears in her eyes. I forgave her. We're closer now than we ever were. Last month, I got a text from Emma. Just one line. "I'm sorry, Mom. I understand if you never forgive me. I hope you're well." I read it 3 times. Part of me ached, the mother part that remembered rocking her through nightmares, teaching her to ride a bike, holding her when her first boyfriend broke her heart. But a larger part of me, the part that had learned the hard way that love doesn't mean being a doormat, deleted the message without responding. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. I can forgive Emma for my own peace while still protecting myself from her presence in my life. Some relationships are toxic, even when they're blood. I'm sitting on my balcony now, editing photos from this morning's hike. The light was perfect, golden and soft through the coastal fog. One of my prints is being featured in a local gallery next month. At 58, I'm discovering parts of myself I never knew existed, parts I'd buried under decades of caretaking and self-sacrifice. Yesterday, a woman at my photography class asked about my family. "Any children?" she said, making conversation as we adjusted our tripods. "No," I said, and it felt true. "But I have a wonderful chosen family. My friends are everything." She nodded, understanding in her eyes. Later, at the coffee shop we all go to after class, she told her story. Similar betrayal, different details. Her son and his wife, an attempted conservatorship. "She's 72 and thriving," she said, "alone but never lonely. We're starting a support group, she and I and 3 other women from various communities. A safe space for seniors who've experienced financial abuse from family members. We meet twice a month in the community center. Last week we had 12 people attend. The need, sadly, is greater than I'd imagined. I've learned that family isn't always the people who share your blood. Sometimes it's the people you choose, the ones who show up, who see you as you are and love you anyway. My chosen family throws me birthday parties, calls when I'm sick, celebrates my gallery showings. They treat me like I matter, not like an inconvenient obstacle or a bank account to be drained. There's freedom in starting over at 58. In learning that I don't owe anyone my safety or security just because they call me Mom. In understanding that protecting myself isn't selfish, it's essential. Emma taught me that, though not in the way she intended. The sun is setting now, painting the ocean in shades of amber and rose. I've got plans tonight, dinner with Patricia and her husband, then maybe a walk on the beach. Tomorrow, I'm volunteering at the senior center, teaching a workshop called Protecting Your Assets and Your Peace. Next weekend, my hiking group is doing an overnight trip to Crater Lake. My life is full, rich, and entirely my own. I'm not a victim of my daughter's betrayal. I'm a survivor who turned pain into purpose, who chose herself when choosing herself was the hardest thing to do. And on nights like this, when the sky burns with color and my coffee is perfectly hot and I can hear the waves from my balcony, I think maybe the best years of my life are just beginning.